I'm Dylan. I'm 28 years old now, but this story starts a few years back when I was 24, freshly graduated, and too trusting for my own good. I've always been the kind of guy who plays it safe: steady job, long-term relationship, savings account, and a pretty average social circle. I wasn't flashy. I wasn't loud. I didn't crave the spotlight. That was always my older brother, Lucas. Lucas is 2 years older than me, and from the time we were kids, he needed to win. Everything. Games, grades, girls. If I had something, he wanted it, and he had to have it better. But I never thought he'd go this far. Never thought the worst betrayal of my life would come from both him and the woman I thought I'd marry. Growing up, our parents never really treated us equally, but I didn't notice how deep the favoritism ran until later. Lucas was the golden boy, the one who could do no wrong. Dad always said he had natural charisma and leadership instincts, while I was the quiet one, the bookworm, the one they praised for being stable but never celebrated. If Lucas skipped class or got into a fight, Mom would laugh it off as boys being boys. But if I brought home a B+ instead of an A, she'd give me that thin-lipped look that meant I disappointed her. I learned early to keep my head down, stay out of the way, and find my own peace. And for a while, I thought I had. I met Hannah during my second year of college. She was smart, sharp-witted, and stunning in a way that didn't feel unattainable. We met in a psychology class, ended up in the same study group, and clicked instantly. Our relationship wasn't some whirlwind romance. It grew quietly, steadily, like two people who knew where they were going and liked the idea of going there together. After we both graduated, we moved in together, got a modest apartment in the city, and started planning for the future, talking about marriage, saving for a house, all of it. Lucas met Hannah a handful of times at family events, but he was always weird around her. Flirty, in that way he did with every woman, even ones clearly not interested. He'd crack jokes at my expense, stuff like, "Can't believe you landed someone like her, Dylan. What's your secret? Hypnosis." It was always just a joke, of course, and Hannah would laugh awkwardly, but she never encouraged it. At least, I didn't think she did. That's the thing about trust. You don't notice the cracks until something slips through. It started small, subtle. Looking back, I can see the signs, but at the time, they barely registered. Hannah started spending more time out, saying she was picking up extra shifts or catching up with old friends. She changed her phone password, stopped asking me to join her on weekend plans. I chalked it up to stress. She was working in event planning, a chaotic, high-pressure job. I didn't want to be the suspicious boyfriend, so I let it go. Lucas, meanwhile, had just landed some flashy marketing job downtown. He'd brag about it every time we talked, how much he was making, the parties he was going to, how cutthroat the industry was, and how he thrived on the pressure. Our parents ate it up, of course. They were so proud of him. Whenever I came by the house, it was always, "Did you hear about Lucas's promotion? Or your brother's got a real future ahead of him." No one asked how I was doing. Not really. And when I mentioned Hannah, they'd smile politely, but never pressed. I think deep down, they never really thought I was enough for her. Then came the first red flag I couldn't ignore. It was a Sunday. I'd gone to visit my parents alone. Hannah said she wasn't feeling well, which was fine. I didn't push. We had dinner, the usual small talk, and just as I was about to leave, my mom said, "Lucas dropped by yesterday. With a friend." She smirked as she said it. A very pretty one. I froze. A friend? Yeah, tall girl, dark hair. I think I've seen her before. She waved it off. Maybe in one of your pictures? My heart did this uncomfortable flip. Was her name Hannah? Mom looked up at me, surprised. "Oh, you know her." I forced a laugh, trying not to seem rattled. "Yeah, she's my girlfriend." "Oh," she said again, this time a little slower. Well, maybe I was mistaken, but she wasn't. I knew it. Hannah had told me she was going to a conference that weekend, out of town. But if she was with Lucas, here, smiling in my parents' living room, then she'd lied. And not just a small lie. A big one. I didn't confront her right away. I needed to be sure. So I waited, observed, paid attention, and things started to fall into place. She was always texting someone and smiling at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. She started dressing differently when she went out. More styled, more deliberate. One night, I casually asked her who she'd been texting all week. She barely looked up. "Oh, just some people from work." I nodded. "You ever text Lucas?" That got her attention. She paused for half a second too long. Lucas? No. Why would I? No reason, I said. Just curious. From that night on, I started keeping track. I know it sounds paranoid, but when you feel something's off, you can't just ignore it. I wasn't scrolling through her phone or following her, just watching, listening, picking up patterns. One day, she left her laptop open in the kitchen while she was showering. Normally, she always closed it or took it with her. But this time, she didn't. There was an open tab, Google Maps. A saved location. Lucas's apartment. That was the first time I felt the floor drop beneath me. I didn't confront her that night. Or the next. Honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't ready to accept it. To say it out loud would make it real. So I waited again. Watched. And it got worse. She started working late every Thursday. Always Thursday. I checked Lucas's Instagram. He never posted much, but once or twice, he'd upload a blurry shot of dinner or drinks, just vague enough to avoid details. But one of them had a reflection in the glass behind him. Just a silhouette, but I knew it was her. The shape of her jaw, the bun she always tied her hair in when she wanted to look casual but cute. She used to wear that look for me. Still, I said nothing. And I think that's what really started to mess with me. How I let it go on. How I let it happen, like I didn't even believe I deserved to fight back. But then came the night that broke everything wide open. It was mid-November. Cold. Raining. I came home earlier than usual. My boss had let us out early before the holidays picked up. I was excited to surprise Hannah. Maybe cook something together like we used to. But when I walked through the door, the apartment was empty. No note. No message. Just quiet. Then I noticed the coat rack. Her jacket was gone. Her boots, too. I sat in the dark for an hour. Then two. Then I got a message. From Lucas. Just 3 words. You'll thank me. I stared at it for a long time. Hands shaking. Heart pounding. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't imagining things. I wasn't being paranoid. They were together. And they wanted me to know. What I didn't know, what I couldn't possibly have predicted, was just how badly it would all backfire for them. And how sweet it would be to watch. I didn't respond to Lucas's message. I stared at it, fingers hovering over my screen like I might find the right combination of letters to make it all go away. I didn't. I just locked my phone and let it fall to the couch. That message wasn't for a conversation. It was a declaration, a taunt. And I knew that if I responded, if I gave him even a crumb of a reaction, he'd win. So I waited. Hannah came home around midnight. Her makeup was too perfect, her hair still done, and she smelled faintly of his cologne. Not mine, his. That was the thing about Lucas. He always wore something expensive and heavy, like he wanted the scent to walk into the room before he did. I didn't say anything, just looked up from where I was still sitting on the couch, lights off, same position I'd been in for hours. She jumped a little when she saw me. Probably wasn't expecting to find me still awake. Oh, she said, voice higher than usual. You're up? I nodded. You were out late. She smiled, but it was tight. Controlled. Just a work dinner. You know how those go. Didn't take your work jacket, I said. She froze, barely for a second, but I caught it. Then she shrugged it off. It got too warm. Took it off on the way. I nodded again. Let the silence hang there. She moved around me toward the bedroom like she was being chased by ghosts, and for the next few days, we didn't talk about it. Not directly. We just coexisted. Like roommates. But the weight of that message, those 3 words from Lucas, sat in the air like smoke, choking out any chance at peace. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. I wasn't ready. But I started detaching. Quietly. Pulling my money out of the joint account she didn't know I had access to. Backing up all my files. Looking into new leases, new jobs, new cities. I didn't want revenge. Not then. I just wanted out. But life had other plans. Thanksgiving was 2 weeks later. A family affair I hadn't missed once in 24 years. Even when I was sick, even when I was swamped with work, I showed up. I brought food. Helped set the table. Played the peacemaker when our uncle got too political or dad got too drunk. This year, I planned to skip it. Make up some excuse about deadlines. Avoid the minefield. But then Mom called me. Don't forget to bring Hannah's cranberry tart, she said breezily. Lucas said she made it last year, and everyone loved it. I blinked. What? She's coming, right? He said you'd both be there. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Lucas said what? She sighed. Honestly, Dylan, I know things between you two are tense, but don't put us in the middle of it. If you're having a lover's quarrel, fine, but don't ruin the holiday for everyone. That's when I realized something. They knew. Maybe not the full truth, but enough. Enough to know she'd been spending time with Lucas. Enough to choose not to ask questions. Enough to prioritize the optics of a happy family holiday over my dignity. So I showed up. Alone. I walked in through the side door, holding a bottle of wine I knew no one would drink, and the room went quiet. My mom smiled first, one of those tight, social smiles that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, just you?" she asked. I nodded. Hannah couldn't make it. Lucas wasn't there yet, which surprised me. He usually made a grand entrance, 20 minutes late, smug grin, something expensive in his hand to show off. But not this time. He arrived a few minutes after I did, with a girl on his arm. Hannah. She wore the green dress I bought her last Christmas. Our dad's eyes lit up. "Well, there's our power couple," he boomed. And that was it. No one looked confused. No one asked questions. Not one family member pulled me aside to ask what the hell was going on. They knew. Every single one of them. And they were fine with it. Hannah walked in like she owned the place, kissed my mom on the cheek, laughed at something Lucas said, and didn't even look at me. Not once. Like I didn't exist. And the worst part? I didn't say a word. I stood there like some extra in a movie I was supposed to be starring in. Because I was still in shock. Still clinging to some desperate thread of dignity that said, don't cause a scene. Don't give them the satisfaction. Dinner was unbearable. Lucas made a toast halfway through, raising his glass like he was accepting an award. "To new beginnings," he said, smirking right at me. My mother clinked her glass against his. My dad laughed, and Hannah leaned into him, whispering something that made him grin even wider. I left before dessert, drove home in silence. And that was the moment something broke inside me. Not sadness, not jealousy, something colder, sharper. I realized, in that drive home, that my family didn't just tolerate what they'd done. They endorsed it. They thought Lucas deserved her. That I was the stepping stone, the quiet brother, the practice run. But they didn't know everything. They didn't know what Lucas had really given up for her, or what Hannah had already started doing behind his back. Because the thing about people like Hannah, people who lie so smoothly, so easily, is that they don't stop once they've started. And I had seen the signs. The same signs she gave me when she started slipping away. The late-night texts. The new phone passcode. The suddenly long hours that didn't check out. And Lucas, for all his swagger, wasn't the observant type. He assumed if he won something, it was his forever. That assumption was going to cost him. The next few weeks were surreal. I stopped replying to family messages. They noticed, of course. My mom sent me little guilt trips in text form. "We missed you at the cookie swap," or "Lucas says you're not answering. Are you okay?" I ignored them. Let the silence hang. I think that unsettled them more than if I'd yelled. Then, out of nowhere, Lucas called me. I almost didn't answer. But something made me press accept. "Hey bro," he said. Cheerful. Too cheerful. "We should talk." I said nothing. "You mad?" Still silent. He sighed. "Look, I know it's not ideal. But you and Hannah weren't even. I mean, you guys were fizzling out, right? And we just kind of clicked." I still didn't speak. "Come on, Dylan. Don't be like this. She's happier. I'm happier. You'll find someone." And then, the kicker. She was never really meant for you, man. You know that, right? I hung up. No yelling. No swearing. Just click. And I think that's what shook him. Because a few days later, I got a message from Hannah. "I hope we can be friends again one day." Friends. Like she hadn't gutted me and danced in the remains. I didn't respond. But I started watching. Not them, her. Because something had shifted. She was moving different. Dressing flashier. Posting more on social media. But never with Lucas. Never a picture of them together. And the comments under her photos. Half from guys I didn't recognize. Half from accounts that felt curated. And then I saw it. A tag post from some random guy in a rooftop bar. Arm around a familiar silhouette. Hannah. She wasn't hiding it. Not anymore. And I knew Lucas didn't know. Yet. The temptation to blow it up was there. To screenshot everything. Forward it to him. Blow up the happy illusion he'd stolen. But that would be too easy. Too impulsive. And it wouldn't be enough. I didn't want him just humiliated. I wanted him ruined. And I finally had the patience to wait for the perfect moment. Because when you let snakes eat each other, all you have to do is sit back and collect the skin. And that moment, it came faster than I expected. It started with a phone call from my aunt, one of the few family members who still had some decency. She sounded hesitant. Nervous. "Dylan, I don't know if I should say this. Say what? It's about Lucas. And Hannah. I held my breath. What about them? They're getting serious. Your parents said Lucas might propose soon. My grip tightened on the phone. But here's the thing, she continued. Hannah, she came by the office. You know I work with Lucas's firm, right? HR department. I nodded, even though she couldn't see. She wasn't supposed to be there. But she showed up asking questions. Weird ones. About his salary, benefits, stock options. Almost like. She trailed off. Like she's planning something. I finished for her. She whispered, exactly. And that's when I knew. She wasn't just playing Lucas. She was targeting him. The same way she targeted me. Only this time, I wasn't going to stay quiet. I just had to make sure when it all collapsed, it echoed. I didn't sleep the night my aunt called. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling while the city outside my apartment hummed on without me, like it didn't care that my entire life had been gutted and set on fire twice. First when Hannah left me, then when I realized my family had handed her the matches. You'd think it would have felt good to hear she was circling Lucas like a vulture next, that the cracks were already forming in their little fairy tale. But it didn't. Not yet. All I felt was empty, like I was a side character in someone else's movie, quietly discarded the moment my role ended. I didn't recognize myself anymore. I had let people walk over me, let them rewrite my story without so much as raising my voice. And for what? To keep the peace? To avoid being dramatic? To preserve a family dynamic that never really protected me? No, that version of me was dead. And the man who took his place? He wasn't going to beg for justice. He was going to build it. The first thing I did was change my number. Not because I needed peace, I needed distance. Mom had started calling more, likely because Lucas or Hannah or both realized I was slipping away. The messages started polite. Hope you're okay, sweetie. And turned passive-aggressive fast. It's really immature to hold a grudge over a girl. Then she sent me a picture of her and Hannah at brunch. I don't know what hurt more, the smile on Hannah's face or the fact that my mom had taken the picture. After I changed my number, I gave notice at work. I'd been working in a mid-level analyst role at a finance firm. Not flashy, but stable. But I wasn't inspired anymore. The office felt suffocating, the people robotic. I needed a new purpose, not a desk to hide behind. I used the 2 weeks of remaining vacation time I had and drove upstate. Rented a quiet Airbnb on a lake. Took nothing but a laptop, a duffel bag, and a stack of books I hadn't touched since college. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. No social media updates. No forwarding address. I just vanished. For the first week, I didn't do much. I slept in, made coffee, sat on the dock, and let the silence clean the noise out of my head. I cried sometimes. I won't lie. Random, ugly crying at 2 a.m. when the weight of it all hit me. How I'd been humiliated by the two people I loved most, and how the rest of my family acted like I was the problem for not pretending it was okay. But in that silence, something strange started happening. I began to remember who I was before all of this. Before Hannah. Before Lucas. Before I started shrinking myself to fit into their world. I remembered that I used to build things. Not just spreadsheets or reports. I used to tinker, design, dream. In college, I'd built an app that helped students find study groups. It wasn't perfect, but it got attention. I even got an internship offer from a startup because of it. But I turned it down for a safer job. Stability had always been my North Star, until stability became a cage. One morning, I pulled out my laptop and opened a blank project file. I didn't have a plan. I just started sketching ideas. What if I built something again? Something just for me. No deadlines, no bosses, no pressure to impress anyone. Just code, coffee, and a little peace. It started small. A budgeting tool for freelancers, inspired by all the financial chaos I'd seen firsthand after Hannah dipped into our shared account months ago. Then I added invoice tracking, a built-in tax calculator. Slowly, it turned into something real, something useful. I posted an early prototype in a few forums just to get feedback. The response shocked me. Dozens of messages. People asking if I had a version they could use. A woman messaged me saying it was exactly what I've needed for years. A guy in the UK asked if I was accepting beta testers. I had forgotten what it felt like to build something people wanted. Something that didn't have to go through Lucas's approval or fit into Hannah's expectations of me. I wasn't a placeholder here. I was the creator. By the end of that month, I'd soft-launched my tool under a new name, LedgerNest. I bought the domain, got a basic landing page up, and opened a waitlist. I kept it all anonymous. I didn't want anyone from my old life tracing it back to me. Not yet. I went back to the city in January. New year. New place. I didn't renew the lease on the apartment Hannah and I had shared. Instead, I found a loft a few blocks from the park. Exposed brick. Cheap rent because it was above a bakery. It smelled like croissants every morning, which I considered a bonus. I didn't reach out to anyone. Didn't update my family. Didn't tell Lucas or Hannah I was back. Let them wonder. Let them feel my absence. It wasn't revenge. Not yet. It was reclamation. I started freelancing to pay the bills. Tech gigs, mostly. App debugging, design consultation, anything flexible enough to let me focus on building Ledger Nest. Every dollar I made, I reinvested into the project. I learned how to market it. Watched hours of videos on SEO, product launches, customer funnels. I'd never felt more alive. And then one night, something strange happened. I got a message request on Instagram from an account I didn't recognize. It was Hannah. Hey, hope you're doing okay. Just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. I miss talking to you. I stared at it for a long time. No apology for what she did. Just a vague, soft-pedaled attempt to crack the door open again. I didn't reply, but I did check her page. Her photos were different now. No more flashy rooftop bars or shopping halls. No more smiling brunch selfies with Lucas. In fact, he was nowhere on her feed. And then I noticed a comment under one of her newer photos. From Lucas. Glad you're back to being yourself. Liked by one person, his mother. The mask was slipping. And I was ready. Not to go back, but to rise. The next few weeks were a blur. Ledger Nest exploded faster than I expected. A popular finance blogger featured it in a top 10 tools for creators list, and overnight, the waitlist jumped from a few hundred to over 2,000. I got emails from angel investors. Interview requests. It wasn't just a side project anymore. It was real. But I kept my name off the public face of the company. Because I had a plan. One that required silence. One that needed them to forget me until the exact right moment. I've been journaling every day since I moved back. Not just to process the mess, but to track it. My thoughts, my progress, my wins, my losses. I wanted to make sure that when I finally stepped into the light again, it wouldn't just be for revenge. It would be to show the world what happens when you try to break someone, and they build something better from the rubble. Lucas, meanwhile, was slipping. I heard through the grapevine, an old co-worker of his who followed me on LinkedIn, that his team had been downsized. He hadn't posted about it publicly, but I knew the industry. I knew what that meant. His flashy title was now paper thin. And Hannah? Well, her page had gone dark completely. No new posts. No stories. Nothing. But a quick search of her name in public databases told me what I needed to know. She'd recently incorporated a small LLC. Event planning. Operating solo. Which meant, like Lucas, she was vulnerable. Building something from scratch. No safety net. The irony was beautiful. They had torn me down thinking I was weak. And now they were the ones exposed. Because the moment you make someone feel like nothing, you forget they have nothing left to lose. And people with nothing to lose? They're dangerous. But people who lose everything, rebuild from nothing, and come back stronger? They're unstoppable. And I was just getting started. I don't think there's a more dangerous kind of person than someone who's been humiliated, disappeared, and quietly rebuild a life 10 times better than the one that got torn down. That's what I kept telling myself as I stared out my loft window one cold morning in March, coffee in hand, looking at the city that had once made me feel small. I wasn't small anymore. Ledger Nest had crossed its first 10,000 users. I had 4 part-time contractors working under me, all remote, all vetted. The inbox was filling with questions about sponsorships, partnerships, and what's next. And still, I hadn't put my real name on any of it. No public profile. No LinkedIn updates. Not even a whisper on social media. Because all of this, everything, was part of the plan. And that plan was ready to begin. Let me walk you through it. Step 1. Control the narrative. To hurt someone like Lucas, you don't just take away their pride. You replace it with shame. And the best kind of shame? The public kind. The kind that spreads fast, leaks into every room he walks into, and follows him long after the echo fades. But I couldn't just expose him. That would make me look petty, emotional, like the scorned little brother. No, I needed someone else to light the match. Someone credible. And I knew exactly who that person was. Remember my aunt from HR? After she told me about Hannah snooping around the office, I made sure to keep a steady line of quiet communication with her. Never pushy, never too personal. I'd send her the occasional article I thought she'd find useful, or reply with a "thinking of you. Hope works treating you better" kind of message. Just enough to keep me in the picture. Just enough to stay relevant. When the time came, I sent her an email. Not from my main account. A clean, private one I created for this purpose. The subject line was simple. Concerned about a pattern. Thought you should know. The body of the email was even simpler. Screenshots. Not of Hannah's infidelity. I had those. But this wasn't about me. It was about Lucas. Screenshots of texts I'd quietly sourced from mutual contacts, showing Lucas bragging about how he used HR loopholes to poach clients. Him mocking HR policies. Making jokes about being untouchable. It was all real. Nothing doctored. Just curated. At the bottom of the email, I signed off anonymously. I used to admire him. Not anymore. That was all I had to say. Step 2. Destabilize the partnership. Lucas and Hannah weren't married, but I knew from my aunt that they'd moved in together. A new place downtown. Lucas had been paying most of the rent, probably flaunting his salary like a badge again. Hannah, from what I could tell, was still freelancing in event planning, but a little digging told me her business was floundering. No consistent clients. No real portfolio. She was coasting on charisma and leftovers from her old job. That gave me an idea. A friend of mine, Anya, worked in corporate event logistics. We'd done some small tech gigs together in the past, and she owed me a favor. I called her up. "Hey," I said, "you still doing client tests for new planners?" "Always," she said. "Why?" "I've got a name for you," I told her. "Hannah Weston." Anya paused. "Wait, didn't she?" "Yeah," I said, keeping my tone flat. "But she's working solo now. Might be worth seeing what she can do." Anya laughed. "You want me to mess with her?" "No. I want you to tempt her." We agreed to set up a test gig, something that looked like a high-profile opportunity, but had very precise, high-pressure requirements. Nothing illegal, just hard. Logistics, deadlines, client expectations no amateur could meet. And Anya? She played it perfectly. Reached out under her company's name. Dangled a potential $10,000 payday for a test-run event at a boutique venue. Gave Hannah every chance to say no. She didn't. Hannah, of course, said yes. And she fumbled it. Blew half the deadline, forgot to secure permits, and double-booked the photographer. Anya was gracious. "Thanks for your time," she emailed afterward. "We'll keep you in mind for future opportunities." But we both knew she wouldn't. The fallout came fast. Hannah posted vague story updates on her private Instagram. Not everyone plays fair. Some people just want to see you fail. One of those classic, passive-aggressive pity posts meant to draw sympathy. But sympathy doesn't pay rent. Lucas was about to learn that. Step 3. Crack the foundation. I waited a week, then reached out to an old college friend, Jake, one of the few people I'd stayed in touch with after the breakup. Jake had always liked Hannah a little too much, which was why I never involved him before. But now I wanted him involved. "Do you still follow Hannah on Instagram?" I asked him. "Yeah, why?" "Ever notice how she posts weird cryptic stuff now? She and Lucas good." Jake laughed. "Honestly, I don't think so. Last time I saw her, she was with some dude that wasn't Lucas. Big guy. Full sleeve tattoo. Looked like a club promoter." That was all I needed to hear. "Do me a favor?" I said. "Next time she posts something shady, screenshot it." He didn't ask why. He just said, "Bet." A few days later, he came through. Hannah posted a picture of herself at a club. Low lighting. Cocktail in hand. Sitting next to a man whose face was turned away, but you could see the tattoo. Same guy. Not Lucas. I waited until the weekend. Saturday morning. Hungover brains. Emotional vulnerability. That's when I struck. Lucas got an envelope. No return address. Inside, a USB stick. On it, a PDF with every photo, every message, every timestamp I'd compiled from the last 4 months. I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. Lucas wasn't dumb. He'd know exactly who sent it. Step 4. Let the dominoes fall. I don't know what happened in their apartment that night. I didn't need to. But I saw the aftermath. Lucas deleted his Instagram within 24 hours. Hannah posted a black screen with the caption, "Some people only want to watch you burn." Their friends started whispering. Screenshots got passed around. Stories shifted. Suddenly, I wasn't the sad, heartbroken brother anymore. I was the one who escaped. The one who knew. And best of all, I never had to say a word. But I wasn't done. Not yet, because now it was time to show them what I'd built. And that required a stage. I decided to throw a launch party for Ledger Nest. The company had grown enough to warrant it. We'd just closed our first round of seed funding. I hired a PR firm, booked a venue, invited press, influencers, early users. I didn't need it for validation. I needed it for optics. For the story, I put my name on the brand for the first time. Founder, Dylan Weston. I knew the name would reach them, knew it would sting. And then I did the final thing. The thing I'd waited months to do. I sent out formal invitations. One to my mother, one to Lucas, one to Hannah. No note. Just the date, the time, and the venue. Let them stew. Let them wonder if they were supposed to show up. Let them feel the weight of being outsiders at my event. The night of the party came. The venue glowed. The room buzzed. Cameras flashed. People mingled. And for the first time in years, I wasn't a background character in someone else's story. I was the main event. And as I stood on that stage, microphone in hand, giving my little founder's speech, I spotted them. Back of the room. Lucas in a wrinkled blazer. Hannah in a muted dress that didn't quite fit. They didn't clap. They didn't smile. They just watched. And I watched them. Watched as the reality sunk in. They didn't destroy me. They freed me. Because revenge? It's not about anger. It's about power. And the moment they realized I had all of it was the moment I knew. The fall was complete. And the rise had only just begun. They didn't approach me at the launch party. Lucas and Hannah stood near the back wall like guests who'd stumbled into the wrong room, but were too proud to leave. I never expected them to come. Not really. But maybe some part of them still thought I'd fall back into the old role. The quiet one. The forgiving one. The version of me they could guilt or gaslight back into silence. But that Dylan was gone. I didn't make a scene. I didn't even look their way after I spotted them. I gave my speech, smiled for cameras, took photos with investors and users. I let the new world I'd built speak for itself. The room was filled with people who respected me, not for being someone's brother or boyfriend, but for being me. When the night ended and the venue emptied out, I lingered by the balcony, drink in hand. I half expected Lucas to sneak over and try to pull me aside for one of his signature, let's talk man-to-man speeches. But he didn't. He left quietly with Hannah trailing behind him, looking far smaller than she ever had before. I watched them go, then went back inside and toasted with my team. But the real fallout hadn't even started yet. A few days later, I got a call from my aunt again, the one in HR. She sounded more flustered than usual. Dylan, she said, I don't know what's happening, but Lucas is under review. Serious review. I leaned back in my chair. What kind of review? Ethics. Misuse of company resources. Inappropriate client communication. HR's been digging through emails for weeks, apparently. Someone must have escalated it. I already knew someone had. I'd sent everything I had, quietly and anonymously, weeks ago. But all it took was a spark. And now the fire was finally catching. Do you think he'll be fired? I asked, careful to keep my tone neutral. There was a pause on her end. I think he might be blacklisted. And there it was. Lucas had always seen himself as untouchable. Dad's favorite. The charismatic one. The golden son with the silver tongue. But charisma only gets you so far when the paper trail shows the truth. Word spread fast. The finance and marketing industries are small when it comes to gossip. The same people who used to laugh at his jokes during networking events started muting his name in group chats. His LinkedIn went from flashy updates to radio silence. Then, 2 weeks later, it disappeared entirely. He was gone. Hannah didn't fare much better. A friend who worked in event PR messaged me one morning with a link. Isn't this your ex? It was a Reddit thread. One of those industry-specific ones. Titled, Event planner canceled a week before our gala. Do not recommend Hannah Weston. It had photos of the venue left in disarray. DMs between Hannah and the organizer showing her promising things she never delivered. She tried defending herself in the comments. Blamed miscommunication, tech issues, everyone but herself. But the internet? It remembers. People piled on. Other clients came forward with bad experiences. Missed deadlines. No-shows. Budget mistakes. Within a day, she was trending in a way no one wants to trend. I never responded to the thread. Never liked a comment. Never said her name. But I saved the link. Because revenge is best when it looks like karma. Then came the moment I didn't plan for. A letter. Handwritten. Slid under my apartment door with no return address. But I recognized the handwriting immediately. Lucas. The letter was surprisingly short. Just a few lines. You won. I hope it was worth it. I lost everything. But you lost us. I stared at it for a long time. Folded it. Unfolded it. Read it again. He still didn't get it. I didn't lose them. I let go of people who never valued me. I walked away from a rigged game, built a new one, and invited everyone but them to play. The only thing I lost was the illusion that they ever cared. Still, I kept the letter. Not out of sentimentality, but as a reminder of who I was and who I'd become. In the months that followed, Ledger Nest hit 50,000 users. We raised a second round of funding. I hired full-time employees. Moved into a real office, still modest, still gritty, but mine. Every inch of it. My family didn't reach out much after that. Mom sent one text in spring. Lucas is staying with us for a while. Things have been hard. You should call him. I didn't respond. Later, I found out from my cousin that Lucas had moved back into our parents' basement. No job. No prospects. A shell of the man who once stood over me at Thanksgiving, toasting new beginnings with a smug grin. And Hannah? She moved out of the city. Started a YouTube channel about healing from toxic relationships. Irony never goes out of style, I guess. Sometimes, I watch a few seconds of her videos. Not out of spite. Just curiosity. She talks a lot about forgiveness. About letting go of resentment. About finding peace. And I think maybe she believes it. But me? I found peace in something else entirely. Not in forgetting. Not in forgiving. But in rising. One night, about a year after the party, I stood alone in my office, lights off, city glowing outside the windows. I walked over to the wall where we'd hung our early team photo, the launch party team, all smiles and champagne and wide eyes. I stared at it for a while. Then I opened my drawer, pulled out Lucas's letter, and folded it into a small square. I tucked it behind the frame. A relic, not a wound, just a reminder of how far I'd come and how far they'd fallen. Because the truth is, they didn't just betray me. They freed me. And when you survive a betrayal like that, you don't just heal. You become fireproof.